You know that famous saying, trust but validate? Oh, I can tell you it's super important to do. Now, what I've learned is when it comes to entrepreneurship, everything you do, each and every task that you outsource, each and everything that you ask someone to do, the most important part is that you validate that they are doing exactly what you want. Now, this might sound like, yeah, of course. Well, of course, you should always trust. Look at these kids running behind. So, obviously, you need to validate. Honestly, you need to trust. But have systems in place where you understand and that you actually see the things that you're doing actually is in the way that you want it. Actually make sure that the things that you do are being in the way that you want it. So say for example, I'll outsource a task, I'll give someone a task within the company to do something specific. It could be, for example, can you please gather some leads for me? Now, when you give someone that task, make sure that as soon as possible that you have a system in place or a process or a method that you actually check each and every time if they have done the work. Not only if they've done the work, but also deliver the quality of leads that you want. Now, say I want to have, I'm giving you a random number now, but 20 leads by the end of the day. Within the start of them performing that task, see if the leads are of good quality or in accordance to your description or anything that you want. Now the thing is that, for example, when it comes to leads, you can't always imagine people to always know exactly what you want. You can't imagine people to know and understand if you don't communicate. Now, sometimes you won't be able to communicate properly yourself, which means that you need to have a process for you to take that in consideration. And having the system, having that process in place that you always check up, you trust but validates. That's at least what I've learned, or my takeaway. Now, maybe for some of you that might be super intuitive. Maybe you've already yeah, of course, I always have a system in place, or I do follow up and validate. The thing is that you can overdo it as well, and I think that's the important topic to add to this is, or that if you look, if I get a job task, I want to perform well. I want to perform with high quality. I want them to be happy about my work. So I'll ask them for feedback. Some people aren't that way. Some people don't really ask for that feedback. Maybe they have so much pride in their work. Maybe they have ego that comes in the way. Can be anything. But what I found is that worked for me is, or at least when I've got a task, I'll send them a draft and then in an iterative and agile way get feedback quickly. Now you need to have those systems in place. So for example, someone asked me to create someone asked me to create a website. I'm just imagining up. I don't know actually what to give. No, let's say content, for example. That's actually a really good example. With the content that we produce, it could be really good for me to send a draft about the ideas, taking notes of the meeting that we had, then send a draft is this what you imagine? Is this something with alignment with what you think and your vision? Because people always have a vision of things, right? So they have expectations. If they have a vision, they have expectations. If they have expectations, you need to be aligned with those expectations. And the only way to do that is to communicate clearly. Now, as I mentioned before, you might have some objections, you might have some thoughts, you might have something that you don't know until you have reached that point where you can give feedback. For example, there might be a hypothetical question that you have, or some hypothetical feedback that you have, but you won't know if it's actual feedback until you've got something to feedback on, which is why I love the agile way of working, which is why I love actually having a conversation about things, which is actually why I think you should have this process and system in place. And I'm talking to myself just to make it super clear. I won't get in too much of detail because I need to write down exactly what happened, but all I know is that I need this system that I've been talking to you about, and I have that implemented in some parts of the company, but I need it more Like, oh yeah, this is what I wanted to talk about also, that sometimes you can over validate, sometimes you can, which undermines the trust that you're trying to show, that you're trusting people. So having this relationship focusing on building trust is first on that you show that you trust them, and you do actually trust them, and then you validate on things that you might have less trust in. And I don't trust people's abilities. I trust that I don't mistrust people's abilities. I trust people's abilities, but I don't have a lot of trust that it will be exactly as how I want it. That's an advice that I got from my father, that like, take anything that you want someone to do, you give them that task, the job task. When they perform that task, you can probably expect that the people will give you, everybody's looking while I'm filming, it's so funny. Giving someone a job task, expecting to like do 50% of what you want. Like maybe even less. I think my father said 40. Like what you need is to understand that you need to communicate clearly. Even though if you communicate clearly, people will do a poor job in your opinion. Maybe not in line with exactly what you want and what you think people will do. Now, having that said, these systems are there for you to actually figure out quite quickly, so you can iterate on the feedback that you've given or got. Have those systems in place, trust but validate, and so I don't know, is this a vlog? I know, these are my open reflections. See you in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment your thoughts. And sorry about the background noise. See you guys later. Boom boom.